Okay, recording in progress. Hey there, guys. Today we have here Mr. Chuck Teague, who is a candidate for Clerk of Court. Okay, Mr. Teague, just introduce yourself and give us a little bit of background.
I'm Chuck Teague. I'm a candidate for the Clerk of Court. A little bit about myself. I'm married to Monica. We've been married for 29 years and have a daughter, Elizabeth. And I'm a deacon at Calvary Baptist Church in Monroe. I've been serving on the preschool board there as well. I graduated from Piedmont High School in Appalachian State with a degree in accounting. And that's some personal. Do you want some my work?
Yes, please.
I started in the Union County Clerk's Office in 1987 as a bookkeeper. And then in 1997, I received a phone call from the Administrative Office of the Courts asking if I wanted a job as a financial management analyst. And I said yes. And that allowed me to travel to different clerk's offices throughout the state of North Carolina and see how other clerk's offices work. And then in 2011, our current clerk, J.R. Rao, asked me to come back and be a supervisor and assistant clerk in criminal department. And then in 2018, I moved on to be an assistant clerk and supervisor in the financial department.
Nice, great, okay. So I see that you have a heavy financial background.
Yes, ma'am.
And has that helped you identify any fraud, waste, and abuse? And if so, what was the find and how were you able to address it?
Well, when I was at the Administrative Office of the Courts, we did have an issue with a cashier taking money. And we kind of had to wait till she actually did it. I mean, I had to wait 2 or 3 weeks because what she would do is take a ticket, and she would take the money and then would mark the ticket off. So we waited for her to do her steps. And once she did it, we had her. And then we changed procedures throughout the state and eliminated that ever happening again.
Now, can you elaborate a little bit on those procedures, or is that like an inside
No,
secret?
it's not. It's just we put more internal control on how receipts are voided. To they can't void their own receipts anymore. They have to have someone from the outside come in and actual void receipts. We have a form that has to be filled out by that other person saying, that this receipt should be voided.
Mhm.
So it's a dual control, making sure that, it just doesn't happen again. And it hasn't happened since then.
Did you spearhead that change?
We did. There are 6 of us. That's on the financial management analyst. And there's actually 6 cases in the state doing the same thing. And so we took care of it.
Okay. You took care. Okay. So I read that you oversee all the funds received by the clerks.
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the sources and how they're allocated?
Right. Well, last year we took in $13.5 million. All that money came from, it could be from speeding tickets, it could be from estate cases, it could be from civil lawsuits. There's just numerous things that comes from. And every single penny that comes in the clerk's office goes to someone else. None of it stays in the clerk's office. Part of it goes to state North Carolina. Part of it stays here in Union County, pays like facility fees for use of the courthouse, officer fees for where they serve papers. Also, we paid over $500,000 to the Union County School Board last year from fines and forfeitures.
Oh.
And then we also take in money for probation cases where it goes out to victims. They're on said they're on probation or they got time to pay. They said they pay their costs in our office.
Sure, okay. So I also read you co-wrote the financial manual for all 100 counties.
Right.
You want to tell us a bit about that?
Well, when I co-wrote this, the last financial manual was written in like 1968. So we had to, so me and this other guy took on the task of writing a new manual because there's been upgrades to computer systems and everything. So we pretty much had to start from scratch and say, okay, this is the procedures that like bookkeepers have to do, or cashiers have to follow. And that's where internal control is real big into financial policy and procedures manual.
Was this an initiative that you decided to take on, or did someone tap you on the shoulder and say, hey,
someone tapped me on the shoulder because they knew said one of us 6 financial management analysts and the analysts needed to work on it. And with my experience working in the clerk's office, they thought I was the ideal person for it.
Oh, okay. So currently, do you see some improvement that's needed in the court system, or your space, which would be the clerk of court? How would you address it if you were to be elected?
Well, one thing I would like to see is on Superior Court criminal court, they might have 2,000 cases for a week. The DA creates the calendar, sends it down to us, and we have to pull all 2,000 of them cases. They have to stay in alphabetical order, and we pull them. So out of them 2,000 cases, maybe 300 or 400 cases get tried, and then we had to put them 1,600 cases back in the pen and drawer before we do anything else. And then when we get the next calendar, we have to pull those 1,600 plus another 300 or 400. And what I would like to see is to work with the DA's office and see if we can get that calendar, smaller, so we don't have to spend so much time pulling and putting back those files, because that is a very time-consuming task for the clerks, especially in criminal department. But it is criminal department.
How difficult do you think that would be?
Well, it would take a lot of work with the DA's office, because they're the ones that create the calendar, and so they're the ones that tells us what cases to pull, and so that it will take working with them.
Okay, all right. So how do you think the residents would benefit from you as the clerk?
Well, one thing I'd like to see is that every person that walks in our door is treated with respect and compassion, because you don't know what they've gone through. Usually if they walk through our office door, it's not usually good. Because someone could have passed away, said you might got a speeding ticket, someone could be suing someone, it's usually not good. So, I just want people to, feel like that we do have the compassion and they are a person, not just a case on our load.
So pressure nowadays is a big thing. How would you handle any pressure that you thought would cross that unethical line?
Well, I hope I wouldn't ever cross the unethical line. But, we have, as I said, procedures, we have statutes that we have to follow. And, we can't give legal advice to people because we're not attorneys. So, we can't cross that line. That's one line that we're always, said, do not give legal advice. And so I guess that's the number one pressure. A person will say, hey, I need to know how to do this, or tell me what my next step is. We can't do that. That's giving legal advice. We have to tell them to go see an attorney or look on the general statutes to see what they have to do.
But how about pressure from leadership? Hey, Chuck, how about we just file this over there?
I've never had that experience from someone higher up. We got a great clerk right now, J.R. Rao, in Union County, and he has never pressured, me to do anything. And one thing about the clerk is they are elected official. So who's over them is the people of Union County. So that's who the clerk has to answer to.
So you felt if you were ever to put in that position, you would have enough fortitude to withstand?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Because I've already seen where people have done what they're not supposed to do and what the consequences are. I've worked with state auditors who deals with fraud every day. And they had told me stories that,
So if worse comes to worse, would you be willing to step aside, to step down? So Do you understand what I'm saying? You're gonna be put between a rock and a hard place. You don't want to do the wrong thing.
Right.
So you feel maybe the alternative would be to step down.
Well, one thing that the clerk does is they have hearings. So, you might get a little pressure from attorneys or the other side, but ultimately it's up to the clerk to make that decision.
Okay.
And if either party doesn't agree, they can appeal it to a higher court. If they think the other side thinks that there is something not quite right going on. So that they do have a recourse if they see that I was doing something unethical or showing favoritism.
Okay. Well, that is it. So thank you so much for coming.
you.
Can you tell the people where they can find more information about you?
You can find me at votechuckteague.com, CTeague, TEAGUE 1962 at gmail.com.
Okay.
And I would also like to add that, kind of what separates me from the other candidates is that, of course, the 35 years experience, but also in working with Mr. Rao as an assistant and supervisor the last 11 years. And so I had the experience, and I'm ready to just take over as clerk. And I've seen many clerks working in the state. I've seen good clerks' offices, and I've seen bad clerks' offices. And I want to keep our clerk's office great because it's great.
Well, thank you so much for stopping
Thank
by.
you.